Okay, good morning all. Following last Saturday's panel discussion with two technopreneurs in Hong Kong, Warden and Stanley, I'd like to warmly welcome Eddy and Dianna Qian. Thanks both of them spending time with us on this Saturday morning. Eddy, originally from Hong Kong and a PhD graduate from HKLSS, has had many years of experience in big pharmas before co-founding his company, Arctic Vision. He's now spending most of his time in Shanghai with two kids and, of course, his partner. Dianna, with many years of experience in a range of healthcare companies and consultancy, is a partner of Pivotal China, a venture capital firm focusing on life sciences industries. She is also currently residing in Shanghai. Perhaps let's start with Eddy. He's going to share with us his story and the healthcare career opportunities in the mainland China, followed by Dianna for the next 40-45 minutes. We will then leave all of us the last 15 minutes for questions. Please raise hand or ask questions in the text box. So Eddy, please.
Okay, thanks Ken for your introductions, and I'm very glad I have this chance to share some of my experience and the learning should be during the last 15 years or 16 years of my career life. So I just want to make sure, Ken, can you see my screen share now? Is it okay? Okay, great. So I will just start. So first of all, welcome everyone again, and I'm very glad to have these opportunities. As Ken already introduced, I'm from Hong Kong. I'm born in Hong Kong and I grew up in Hong Kong and graduated in Hong Kong as well. And I found you all are very fortunate or lucky to have this kind of opportunity to have a societies or organizations like HKLSS to plan and to provide you some advice, suggestions, and also link with some industrial expert like the talks you heard last week, and also ourselves to share some of our experience to you. I remember while I was still a PhD student in Hong Kong, to be honest, I'm quite confused at this moment because I do not know what's supposed to be due in the futures. And I was not that lucky as you to have such kind of organizations officially spending such kind of resources to helping us. So I believe that this is really a good starting point for all of you to know more and plan for it in the futures as well. I hope our sections could able to help you to think about what is our current situations in China's maybe, or in the worldwide in biotechnologies opportunities. So I was assigned the topic to talk about the mainland China's challenge and opportunity. But I would like to, to have a discussions more focusing on the opportunity. And I'm not going to talk about the specific China's sectors, but I would like to provide some of the maybe thinking methodologies for all of you to consider how to find out your opportunity, and to also to help you how I found my opportunities while I was relatively younger as a student, and then while I was growing up in different pharmaceutical company. Okay, great. So for the coming around 20 minutes, I would just talk about some of my experience sharing. So this is not something like a lecture, so feel free to ask me questions and maybe challenge me if you think that my concept is not correct. Okay, so let you know more about myself before I go into the details of talk about the sharing. So I'm born in Hong Kong, as I mentioned. I'm really a people's grew up in Hong Kong without any overseas experience before my PhD graduation. So I can claim myself as a really Hong Kong trained people till my PhD. So I started in Hong Kong in a very regular families, and then I believe as most of you then take secondary school and then enter the university. I studied biochemistry over there in Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. And then I start my PhD just after my bachelor degree. I was focusing on molecular pharmacology. So this is a very specific and niche area. So this was the reason why I told you that I was very confused what suppose I should do while I was uh, doing my PhD. Do you know any single pharmacologist in Hong Kong? I believe that that is very difficult to find one in Hong Kong. So sounds like this may not be a really good career in Hong Kong at that moment. And most of my peers, most of my folks and others students in the university, they were joining government or maybe they were going to sell insurance or they are going to the real estate industry um, or to be a banker. But to be very honest, why I pick biochemistry or pharmacology as my focus was because I really like the science and I like medicine and I like to contribute my life to help to treating the patients with diseases as well. So I was quite confused at this moment. But I was lucky. I got the chance to know something about the industry while I was PhD. I took the chance to join a training, which is like a mini MBA program organized by Novartis. I was very fortunate, selected by Novartis as the Hong Kong to be the Hong Kong representative to join the mini MBA program. So Novartis organized different type of training for different locations. So this was their first time to organize the so-called mini MBA program, and from each single country or area, pick one student and then to join like a mini MBA program to have some competitions from different countries. So I remember there were around 20 people, 30 people, 30 students. And I was very fortunate that my team present the business case and how to develop the companies as a virtual case. And then we won the best team and my personal got the personal award. So I got some attention from Novartis. But the MBA program, the mini MBA program was not recruitment camp, but through this program, I know what pharmaceutical industry is. So after my PhD graduations, I voluntarily nominated myself to Novartis and asked them whether they would like to recruit a junior staff. So this was the starting point of my career. So I was fortunate. They found that I'm very passionate in this industry, and then they allocate one of the very junior role for me to start my career over there. So this is my first learning. If you found that there is some industry you are really would like to be involved in, maybe you should try yourself to voluntarily nominating yourself to get the collections, and don't wait for any recruitment or with officials channel. Maybe there is something you can establish the connection by yourself, and or there is something channels you could establish by yourself instead of waiting for the others to help you. So this is my first learning while I was a PhD. And then I joined Novartis, but to be honest, the decisions was very difficult. While I was in HKUST, I did quite a good work in the research area. I published it. I know there may be some PhD student here. You know that how difficult to publish a papers, right? So but I published around 10 papers while I was studying PhD in HKUST. And I got several international global research award from different society, including Neuroscience Society. So from my perspective, I already got several assistant professors role and research associate role from different university. I was actively invited by different university, but I decided to drop those kind of career path and decided to join Novartis as a junior staff. At least the salary would be around 1/3 to 50% of the university could offer me. So this was a really difficult decision. But while I'm sharing this, I believe that this is very related to your decision as well, maybe at this moment as well, because you are all student, I supposed to be. So then that means in the futures, you will thinking of whether you stick with the academic area or go to the industry or to be an entrepreneur. But I believe that if you have a strong desire mindset, go for it. Don't be too, back and forth struggling inside your mind. Otherwise, you will miss some of the opportunities. And then I joined Novartis and then to move to Taiwan as well in 2009, and then move from Taiwan to their headquarters, Switzerland, to in charge the area I showed here, which is a blue color, which is a really big region covering Africa, Middle East, and also Asia Pacific for their clinical development and medical affairs, mainly focusing on ophthalmology. So this was the reason why I'm very passionate about ophthalmology as well, and also neuroscience was my major focus. And then I stay in Switzerland for these very difficult regions for around 5 to 6 years. And then in 2014 and 15, I decided to move back to Asia. I got the chance to join Elegant. So you could find the logo over here is Elegant, which is a company very focusing on ophthalmology, eye care business again, but also very focusing in aesthetics, which is for example, like Botox, filler, and breast implant. So for me, this was a really good learning to know about the whole China's environment. I joined Elegant as the medicals and clinical head over there as well. At that moment, Elegance was very struggling as well because they were merging with some of the other company, so many layoff at that moment. So one of my responsibility is to restructure the whole team and also to make sure that all the program can be prioritized and some of the program has to be cut, some of the program has to be saved. But this was a really great learning for me to know all the different regulations in China and also provide me a very good opportunities to find out what type of opportunities in China can be in the futures as well. So this was one of the reasons I started my company around one and a half years ago. And then I stayed in Elegance for around 3 years, more than 3 years. I got opportunities to be invited by a US technology company called Qian to start the China part. Then I helped this biotechnologies company to start the China company from scratch, to build a team over there, to know about the capital markets, to know about how to do the fundraising maybe, and all the regulations, and also how to manage the company in the different functions. This provided me a very good learning opportunity as the foundations to start a company like Arctic Visions. What is the current company I'm working for, and I'm working as a CEO here as the founders together with some of my folks I met during my career time. So yeah, so this is my whole career life. Many people are saying that, wow, you have a very smooth career pathway from one place to another place, from Hong Kong to Taiwan, Taiwan to Switzerland, Switzerland to Shanghai, and then to start your company. And you seem not so old or mature yet. So this is a quite common comment I received. But I always feedback in this way. To be very honest, every single time the decisions I make from academics to industry, and from Hong Kong to Taiwan, and then from Taiwan to headquarters to handle such kind of very difficult regions, and then based in Switzerland for 5-6 years to enjoy very good welfare over there and good air, good environment over there, and then come back to to Shanghai, but with a significant salary reductions. So to be honest, every single time the decisions was really tough for myself. And now to be honest, my road in Elegance was not low as well. And then I start my biotech careers as an entrepreneur type people was another very risky decisions, but I would like to challenge myself as well. So I just want to provide a comment here is that prepare yourself to look for the opportunity, what you believe that could create your value and also to maximize your potentials as well. If you strongly believe yourself could do it, go for it. Otherwise, if you are always struggling, then you will miss the chance. So, for example, if the Novartis headquarters invite me to handle such kind of difficult regions, including Africa and Middle East, if I was very struggling, I would just miss this chance, and I would never be today. So I believe that I just want to remind every single student here, prepare yourself. What is the good opportunity you believe that this can maximize your potential and try to go for it. And absolutely during my career life, I have many different type of good learning or findings. I found that this is really interesting for my career. So all of them are the opportunity here. I would not go through one by one, but I just want to say that in fact, from the left-hand side of the graph, I found that there are some things you may be very familiar, like cannabis or dongchong cha, which is something should be from China or from Asia, but ultimately the Western company take the opportunity to develop it as a billion-selling drug. Then why those kind of opportunities should not be happening in China or Asia? And like Botox, they discovered this cosmetic drug is based on they were investigating on the facial spectrum. So you know that while in this industry, this is very exciting, but at the same time, you have to be very flexible as well to know those kind of opportunities you may able to create. So this is an industry. I could say that this is not as fast-paced as the internet, but can be very exciting. So I hope that you can know more during my coming sections. I mean the sharing why I'm so passionate about this industry. So yeah, different period of times can have different opportunity. So never regret to miss one of the opportunity, but please make sure that you are grabbing the next opportunity. So this is the main theme of my whole sharing, to see how to find your opportunity as a student or as a, I mean, a scientist. You may be at this moment, how to think to find out your focus, to take out the opportunity. Like I know that you may find some opportunity in real estate or in IT, but this may not be your focus. So how to find your focus? So how to make sure that your focus could be your opportunity in the future? This was my methodology. I want to show you my methodology. I hope this can be able to help you as well. So please always remember 3 circles: capability, your capability. So that means how to train up yourself. Like myself, I train up myself as a PhD with good scientific background. I grew up my career in different regions, so I have a very good global visions. I'm very passionate in ophthalmology, so I know ophthalmology very well. I know I am a very people person, so I suppose I'm a good manager to manage a company. So I know this is kind of my capabilities I built in the past. And then in the next circle, you have to focus is your perspective. That means how the people think about you. So whether the people think about is a very technical people or general strategic people or a CEO type people, this is something you have to create as well as the perspective. Okay, after you understand these two big broad circle over there, then you would think about at this moment, what is the probabilities could be, and then this will be your focus. I take a very real life example. For example, you can play badminton very well, and all the peoples, your folks, your peers, they totally agree that you can play badminton very well. But you always go to the park to play badminton with your friends, you could never generate any single profit, or this could not be your future's career focus. Then how could you turn this to your focus? You may generate an app for change the people to play badminton maybe, or you can change yourself to be a coach, or change yourself to be a professional badminton player. Then after you consider this three circles, then you could know how to be your next opportunity focus. For example, now you are a lab guy, a very technical guy, know how to do all the research. Or for example, like Western board, Southern board, or sequencing. And in reality, your other academic area people think that you have a good perspective in this area as well. So they agree you are a good technical people. Then how you change it to your next focus? You can think about it, whether I should be a technical person to develop this as my opportunity, or I would like to do it as a trainer to train the other people to gain the profits as well, or I join an industry which is very, very focusing in those kind of technology, then you can enjoy the career step up as well. So please remember these three cycles in your mind, then you could able to help you to decide your next opportunity. Then while you are talking about how to find out the profitability environment, and back to the main topic of today's China, this is very difficult for you to find very China's or US or Israel or Taiwan, Australia could be the place for you. But please pay much more attention to the worldwide news and some numbers. Then this can hint you to know whether the locations will be a good place for you. So for example, like myself, I know that I would like to be a ophthalmologist company founders and CEO to start my company, and I build up my capability in this way. And I'm trying very hard to the externals to agree with me to build the perspective part. Then I think about the profitability part, the benefit part, whether I should create a company in the US or in China or in Hong Kong. So you know that. Then back to some of the numbers. This is quite relative outdated, but this is already showing the trend. It's 2018, the numbers. The financial investment event in China is already surpassed the US. In terms of the amount, maybe different, but in terms of the event, this is higher than the US. So if you would like to create business in the world, whether you would like to try this in China or in US, this already the number is telling you. And I'm not taking out the other locations. If you are taking out Hong Kong, maybe Taiwan, maybe, or Australia, maybe, then the numbers could not be comparable. So if you were me, then how would you find the opportunity? And the other things is, pay attention to the overall, the worldwide situations, what they are changing and what they are aiming to do. So this can able to help you to decide whether the locations is good for you to develop your career. At this moment, because of the trade war or the new Cold War, we say that China is no longer talking about the 2025 made in China's strategy. But I don't believe that they drop out this strategy. They are still focusing in this strategy. And as you read all the news, you may ask yourself, question yourself, why US is going to initiate the trade war with China. It's because of the numbers. Now, China is going to be a much more high innovative, high value capitals out export country. So this is already challenging the US road since 2017, as you can find from the left-hand side of the graph. So regardless of whether this was Trump or another president in the US, so this was the trend. US would like to protect themselves, and China is keep challenging this. So this turns out to be some of the opportunity. Maybe you could believe that China is able to overcome this challenge, will be a good place for you, or you believe that US is still able to be the leader. So this is your personal decision, but pay attention to these numbers and don't believe that this is something just a one person's decisions. It's not because of Trump, it's because of the whole US strategy. if you remember, if you pay attention to the news, even the Obama president's period of time, they are talking about back to Pacific strategy, but they are just doing something not as dramatic as Trump. So this is something I captured from the white papers of the US government, talking about how they think about the Make in China 2025. So they are already clearly mentioned that China as the pharmaceutical ingredients manufacturer is challenging the US role in the world. So then that means they would like to change it. So you may read the news if you pay attention to the news this just last week. US is supporting Codex to be the active pharmaceutical ingredients company. They transformed to be a film company to a API company from a pharmaceutical ingredient company. And just yesterday, Trump signed the executive actions to force the manufacturers to move back the pharmaceutical ingredient manufacturing in the US. Then that means from those kind of news can give you two opportunities. One opportunity, if you believe that you could, then you better should go to the US to develop the pharmaceutical ingredient business over there. This could be an opportunity for you. Or you believe that your opportunity could be in China based on the good foundations of the China pharmaceutical ingredients business already to help China's or the whole Asia's, including Hong Kong, to overcome the challenge from the US and to be the leaders of biotech industry in the future. So this is the two opportunity you are facing, but you have to ask back yourself, what is your capability? What is your perspective as well? If you believe that you could easily find a company in the US, then go for it. But for myself, I believe that I could easier to build a company in China more and to have a better influential powers here. So you know that those kind of information could able to help you. So I may talk too much about the China's and the US, but this is our regularly normal life. I believe that this will impact your life much more than myself as well in the future. So bear this in mind and just do it if you would like it, then find out the best way for you. And AI, I believe that this is something, another trend, the opportunity you could never miss it. Don't think this is too far away from you. I just try to map out here from every single aspect of the drug development. I could not find any single room in the AI, in the area AI is not involving. So please pay attention to that. And but don't be afraid, don't be scared that the AI would replace you, because we are now facing another industrial revolution type era. Then that means many of the jobs are not invented yet. So from this report, 85% of the jobs are not invented yet in 10 years' time. So you may be very suspicious what I'm saying, but you could imagine if you were living in the industrial revolutions era, before that, no one would able to manufacture the machine, no repairments, there is no factory manager, there is no one to maintain the factory logistic, and they don't need to care about the SOP, the management's procedures. All those new type of jobs were invented after industrial revolutions. And now we are also facing such kind of revolutions in our years in next 10 years. Then that means more and more new jobs would be created in next 10 years. But whether you could find your opportunity within this 65%, then you have to pay attention to what is your capability, your perspective, and you find out the possibilities, opportunities throughout reading those kind of trends and news as well. So bear in mind that I could not say that what will be happening in next year, because the world is changing so fast. So yeah, so I hope you would agree with me that this is a very good methodologies for you to find out the opportunity. And I would also like to use this, the methodology to introduce to you why my career path was in this way, because I was trying very hard to build my capability through my career path. And I was also trying very hard to build my perspective based on my career path as well. And I strongly believe that now at this moment, China is a good place for me to start the ophthalmology company, to bring the profits, not only to myself, but to the patients, to the society, to my investors as well. So you know that this is a quite, easy, simple ways for you to dig out your opportunity, but no one could able to help you to answer unless you really think about this carefully. So I think this is the time to give back to you the questions. What does your opportunity look like? So yeah, this is my sharing. I hope you found this is helpful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eddy. Without further ado, let's pass the time to Dianna. As mentioned, Dianna has a substantial experience working in China in different sectors, as well as in the US at some point of her career. So let's pass the time to Dianna. She'll be able to share with us a lot more about the healthcare industries in the context of China. Thank you, Dianna.
Sure. Thank you, Qian. Can you guys hear me well? Is the voice loud enough? Okay. I guess I did prepare a couple of slides, basically talking about my own background as well as Pivotal China's very brief introduction. But yeah, if I may bother. Okay, maybe the first page. Yeah. No, actually, the second one. Sorry about that. The one. Can you turn one more page? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So no, the previous one. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. The reason I pulled up this one, basically, I just want to share some perspective here. Last year, Eddy and I actually joined an in-person sort of dialogue with a group of students from Hong Kong in a very interactive way. I assume most of people today who joined this session probably share the same background as the last year. Most of you, I think, either currently holding the bachelor degree or master degree, or in the process of pursuing your PhD in Hong Kong, like very reputable and top tier university in Hong Kong. And I also assume that at this point you're wondering, okay, should I pursue like even a more advanced degree? Or what should be my first job going forward? Should I stay with like research and staying in the lab and maybe taking some research job and join a pharma or biotech company? Or should I try to test something different, maybe going through some business route? I think that will be the top two questions in your mind. And meanwhile, I think for those people, for those students who actually was born in Hong Kong, grew up in Hong Kong, there might be naturally another question saying, should I stay in Hong Kong or should I go to a different place in the world? Is this a smart decision to go to mainland China to pursue something else? So put the three questions into the perspective. I just want to share something that I could offer, but I think I sort of regret that we couldn't have interactive sort of dialogue today. So my background is very different from most of you. I did not pursue the so-called the scientific sort of route. I basically learned business and finance, and I got J. But as Eddy can tell, actually, in my past like 20 years, I gradually sort of moved from a pure finance and business guy, in more like gradually transform myself into life science related people. To some degree, I can understand a good part of the science, maybe some can read some clinical data and so on and so forth. So I think both Eddy and I sort of are trying to show you that life is a journey of continuously learning. Your first degree doing you start with sort of baseline. You could always grow yourself, sort of put a very thoughtful thinking, sort of to put me and Eddy into the same same session, sort of try to prove this idea from different angle. So that will be my sort of opening. I do have a sort of, I recently hired a young lady called Julie Zhou, who actually graduated from Hong Kong University, and also he got a PhD from Hong Kong University. Also, just like maybe one of you guys 10 years ago, or no, I shouldn't say that, 5 years ago. And she basically wrote a lot of articles in a very famous apps called Zhihu in China. It's just like a Chinese version of Quora. And in that app, Julie wrote many articles, but one of the major reasons that Julie started to write that is because he run into many situations. People like relatively junior or younger people ask her why she chose to join LEK Consulting after she graduated as a PhD. And I think there's a lot of puzzle, a lot of struggling in most of the PhD candidate mind, saying, okay, should I continue to do research, or should I go with something different, like especially to learn some basic business? So if you guys would like to see and read her new article, maybe you can let Ken know. I can let Ken sort of distribute Julie's new article to you guys. That will sort of address the first question that I just posed here, because Julie basically provide a lot of perspective, pros and cons, and what type of personality and what kind of open-minded perspective you may have to be able to sort of make decision what's the right way it's going to be good for you. So that's one thing. In my mind, I think the key reason that I, like in the past several years, I continue to hire PhD candidate to, PhD graduate to join my team is because I definitely value the learning capability of most of the PhD people I met. So in my old sort of in my previous jobs, I normally work with people sort of share the same experience as I do. Some of them are very good, some of them couldn't sort of go beyond their horizon to learn, or they don't have the willingness to learn something related to science. And they always have a mentality that I would like other people to teach me, I would like other people to talk to me, but they don't have the tendency to search, to do the research by them own. When I joined my current job, which is Pivotal China, I run into basically a colleague who also got the PhD degree, and he has done quite a lot of research before, like discovery and research, small molecule, big molecule, large molecule, and he hasn't read anything like related to capital market. He does not know, okay, what is investment about. He hasn't read any like financial statement before. But amazingly, I saw him sort of grow up very quickly in the first like 6 months I worked together with him. And 2 months ago, he chose to go to another place, and I had a heart-to-heart conversation with him, and I asked him sort of what sort of motivated him to work in a totally new environment and to learn something very different from what he used to work. He said, you know what, Diana, a PhD actually gave me a good opportunity to explore the whole world just by myself. I don't need to, of course, talking to other people is a good way to learn, but sometimes I don't need to talk to anybody. I can just do the self-study, and at least I can grab the basic stuff. And this is what the PhD training sort of gave to me. So he said, I think he said, if he said to me, if you would like to hire more people with the same background as he have, the most important thing is just to test what kind of capability, what kind of learning capability the person have, and how open he is in terms of try different things, and how comfortable he is to be put in an environment that people are talking about something actually he or she has never been into. That will be the most important capability for you to explore your future career. I think that's the first thing I would like to say. And the second question is whether you are interested in getting into the business world, and when is the right timing sort of to go to the business world. It really depends. I would say people like Julie, she is very smart to expand her horizon at early stage. But I also see many people actually accumulate their expertise, their experience for the first like 10 years after graduate from school. And then when they hit to maybe 35 or 40 years old, they start to expand their horizon and try to learn more about like management skill, and also expand their horizon into something very different. Cause his or her seniority at that moment is good enough for him to leverage, and also he has opportunity to take more sort of a higher managerial role. That will be another opportunity or another good timing for you to consider entering into different parts of the career. So in my opinion, there's not a good answer about earlier or later, but really depending on your personality as well as sort of the right opportunity comes to you. As to myself, you probably can see that my career started with like management consulting, which gave me a certain level of opportunity to observe from the above, meaning I actually did not work from very junior or detail work in the beginning. But at some point, I think, okay, this is way too high level. This sounds good, sounds very strategic, but I have never been through, okay, how things are really putting together. What kind of operational level things sort of could prevent you from getting things done. So at some point, I decided to go to corporate job and doing something kind of trivial or very operational driven to help myself really learn from the basics. And then when I hit to sort of 35, 36, 37 years old, I finally realized sort of doing investment job is something close to my heart. So I made a very, honestly speaking, you probably will not feel like that, but to myself, when I make the decision to move from like a VP position from a pharma company to a relatively junior position in an investment firm, that's a very tough decision I made for myself. I got like pay cut, I got like seniority cut. I basically sort of backward at least 2 to 3 steps. But if I look back from now, I still think that's the right thing to do. So I think this kind of decision could happen to anybody at any time, as long as you think that's the right thing to do. You shouldn't really worry about, okay, am I wasting 2 years? Am I taking pay cut? How would other people look at me? You shouldn't worry about that at all. Sometimes you need to just make some good and tough decision to explore something you really would like to do. And I think in terms of the geographic choice, that's the last and third and last question I posed in the very beginning. If you look at me, I think I haven't got a lot of exposure across the world, but there's a couple of years I see myself moving from one continent to the other, like on a very frequent basis. In 2024, I graduated from Wharton. I moved from US to Hong Kong, and then moved from Hong Kong to Shanghai. Then a couple of years later, I moved from Shanghai back to US to work over there. And then in 2007, I moved from US back to Shanghai. So, and also if you look at my whole career, I worked in US company, I worked in European company, and now I'm working in Pivotal China, which is basically a subsidiary of a Hong Kong entity. So I would really encourage young people like you guys to explore exposure in different territory. Don't constrain yourself into one place. Different culture, different mindset could equip you much better and provide you a good perspective about how you look at the world. I think the most dangerous thing would be sort of narrow down your mindset, narrow down your perspective at the early stage of your life. That would be very, very risky. So I think I just give myself 3 questions and also answer my 3 questions in a row. My slides basically, I can wrap up with my slide base by saying, okay, what is Pivotal BioVenture Partners? That could potentially be one of your career choice, but given the time, I won't be able to explain too much. Maybe you could help me to turn to the next page. Yeah, so this page basically is a 2 company that Pivotal China. This is Pivotal China has incubated. The left-hand side is a company called Oncology, which is a US and China-based oncology company focusing on developing immuno-oncology asset. And currently, this company has very successfully raised over $100 million since 2018. So therefore, in the past 2.5 years, this company has grown basically from 0 to a company worth the valuation is already very close to 200 million. And the right-hand side, basically, Activision is Eddy is the CEO of the company. This is the ophthalmology company that set up 15 months ago. And currently, this company has already finished the Series A financing, and with much higher valuation than before, close to $100 million US. So this too basically just give you a sort of example that you should set your dream high, and don't be afraid of start from something start something from zero. As long as this is something interesting to you, and you put a lot of effort into that, there's a lot of things could be achieved in a short period of time. I don't need to show my last page because basically I have already covered that already. So that will pretty much end my sort of very short introduction here. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Dianna, and of course, Eddy. We're opening the floor to questions. Please raise hand or type in your questions in the text box. Perhaps I'll start with my first question. Unlike our generation, some young people would want to start their own business as soon as they graduate from college or graduate school. What advice would you give them, Eddy or Dianna? Feel free to answer the questions.
Okay. Go first, Dianna, or myself go first?
Eddy, you go first.
Okay. So I think this depends on industry, what you're asking. So if you are telling me that you would like to start your industries, I mean your companies as entrepreneurs for an app or website design or some others computers-based, then maybe you could start it, because this is something maybe you could not gain more from what you are joining another industry. But this is purely based on your creativity, right? So if you are thinking there is in the world missing an app, you could able to bring this to the world, then maybe you should bring it as early as you can. Otherwise, your ideas will be stolen or already other people's were implemented. But if you go back to talk about the biotech industry or medicine industry, what we are focusing today, I would like to advise you to have some learning from the industrial world first. The reason was, first of all, is a hugely complicated industry. Different roles, different peoples are doing different parts. So I'm not asking you to fulfill all the work and to do the rotation in different roles, but at least you know that which type of roles could be, and also what is the essential knowledge you have to plan before you start your own business. And also, this industry is a really highly dependent on the capital investment as well. So I don't think that this is something you could easily to build up if you are only based on your own saving. Unless, okay, I don't know, maybe you have those help, but this is extremely difficult to build it purely by yourself. So then this is also back to, I always try to link to my methodology of thinking, whether you have the perspective to external to make sure that you have the reputations and also your credit to make sure your investor could invest on you to build the business. I think this is something you have to build by time as well. So, so this is the reason why I'm saying that maybe you found something profitable to build a business, but your capability is still lacking. Your perspective is not yet over there yet, may not be the good time. But if you tell me that, okay, you find an opportunity, you can do this tomorrow because you have the capability and your perspective is over there, then go for it. But in general, for pharmaceutical industry, this is not my general suggestions to do it. Dianna, what is your thought?
I actually agree with what Eddy just said. I think I also mentioned this in the past 5 to 10 minutes, when I talk about my session. Yeah, so I guess if I could see any specific question that the person just raised their hand, like in your mind, what is the current sort of the struggling point? That would be even easier for me to address that in a more specific way.
Hey, Dianna and Eddy, I got a question from Dr. Eagles. He said, as Hong Kong has not too many biotech and healthcare investor, except probably us, Mainland, as the biggest one in Hong Kong, how easy it is for Hong Kong student startups to get investment from the mainland China?
Okay. Okay. So I would like to clarify these questions as well. So to be honest, if I understand it correctly, from the capital market, this doesn't mean that if you take the money from one location, then your business is only focusing on this location. So for example, like you already mentioned, Nanfeng is one of the biggest in Hong Kong, but I'm not establishing the company in Hong Kong. My vision is establish a company. The first step is the fulfilling the Asia, mainly in China, Macau, Hong Kong, Taiwan, and even Korea. And then I will expand my coverage as well. So the money we are talking is maybe from one place, but your focus could be in another place. I'm not so sure what is the meaning of this question is. What is the struggling part? Because if I would like to have an investor interested in my business, maybe the investor money is coming from the US or from the UK or from Australia. As long as they found your business is making perfect sense and they would like to invest in your company. But absolutely, this will be easier to talk with the investor if they know your country well, if they know your culture well, and know the medical need or the profitabilities in your place well. This will be easier for you to do it. But this always doesn't mean that you have to find the investor co-located with you to get it. So yeah, so Dianna is from the investor side. Maybe she could share more on this.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with where you are. Most of the investment opportunity I came across every single day. It could be a US company, could be a Hong Kong startup, could be a mainland startup. It really does not matter at all, because you are creating a new product or new technology, try to address the issue not only for Hong Kong, but for China and for the global. So as long as that's a very interesting idea, as long as you have put together a good team and good business plan, you can just go to wherever you want, and the easiest place, of course, to go to mainland China and meet with the investors here, if you would like to increase the chance to get money, right? So I think most of the people I have met, even if they rooted from Hong Kong with a couple of people only from Hong Kong, eventually the management team will expand to mainland China, maybe US or Taiwan, or yeah, the team will be expanded, the investors pool will be expanded. I don't see that going to be an issue to a Hong Kong originated startup.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Dianna and Eddy. I'd be able to take one more questions from Edna. Right, yes.
Thank you for the talk. Firstly, my question is more about the Chinese market as well. So I've been told that the drug prices in China usually have to be a lot lower than global prices because of government regulations and all that. So I'm just wondering if that would pose a financial/commercial risk for biotech firms, because the returns might be less compared to if you market it globally, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, you are talking about the drug price to the patient.
Yeah, so like the selling price of your product, I guess, if it gets commercialized.
Got your question. So absolutely, if you are talking about comparing with the US, the drug price may be different. But please have a look of the globalizations as well. To be very honest, the drug price in the Europe is not so far away from the drug price from the Chinese as well. So while we are talking about what's China's versus the other part of the world, most of the people they are thinking is China versus US. But to be very honest, what is the real world in realities is that most of the other place based on their reimbursement structures, based on the government's affordability structure, the drug price may not be as high as in the US as well. So this is number one we have to remember. And the other things we have to remember is according to what, I mean, this really depends on what the treatments you are developing. So for example, like Arctic Visions, our company, we are really focused on innovative to fulfill the unmet medical need. I'm not saying that once we invent or develop those kind, and then we are selling this to the ceiling price and to harm the patient's ultimate benefits. This is not my intentions. But I would like to say that if there is such kind of breakthrough treatment, there's supposed to be find a ways to overcome the payment issue. For example, the potential commercial insurance collaborations, or the government would pay much more attention to those kind of possible solutions to the society. Again, this is really depends on whether your treatment, your product is creative or innovative enough to fulfill the unmet medical need. This would be a way to find. And also, the first points we have to remember is the affordability of the overall society of the mainland China is increasing. But this also doesn't mean that the patients would pay the cost which is not reasonable. So everything's while we are doing the pricing, while we are selling the products to the market, we have to bear in mind this is fair to everyone, but at the same time to make sure that you have the enough revenue and profitabilities as well. We are not charity. This is true, but this doesn't mean that we would not do any good business in this area. Otherwise, all the other pharmaceutical companies, they would not invest in China. They would not set a branch here. But let's take AstraZeneca as an example. China is already the biggest market in the emerging markets already. So if you are helping to fill the gap in China, bringing the good innovative product, absolutely there is a good market still here because the population is there.
Dianna, any supplement?
Very helpful, thank you.
I agree with Eddy. I used to have the same feeling as Adna you have until the recent years. I realized that US is the exception, not China. China, like instead of saying China is the exception, US is the exception. Any innovative drug introduced in Japan after, I forgot, 2 years or 3 years, is going to be subject to something called YACA. Every year you've got to reduce your price for a certain percentage. In the European country, Germany actually adopt very stringent way of curbing the price. France to some degree is okay, and Italy also has a very, very strict control on the pricing, let alone many other countries. I think China's current sort of recent like group purchasing policy and so on and so forth, is trying to do something good, meaning reduce the price for generic but leave more space for innovative drugs. But when it comes to the pricing of innovative drugs, I think China will be pretty much like maybe most of the European country or some of the other Asian country. I think the pricing will be on par of those countries. May not be able to as high as US. That's going to be a fact. However, the good thing is the population, the patient population pool in China is much, much bigger than any of the European country and than the US, right? And just look at the GDP per capita in China. I think the GDP per capita in China is, as a whole country, is already over 10,000 US dollar, let alone there are 13 cities in this country has already over 20K US dollar per capita. That is equal to quite a lot of advanced countries entry level. So the affordability plus the large patient pool plus relatively comparable pricing as much as in Japan or European country, I wouldn't worry too much about, okay, is China going to be a sort of a big issue in terms of adopting new innovative drug. But this is a general rule. But when it comes to specific situation, you've got to think about which drug, what type of technology could in short term be relatively beneficial. Because everybody, when you set up your startup, you don't want to enter into a sort of a field that you see the gap is like 100 times different. You've got to create something for yourself to be able to achieve your short-term goal and your long-term goal. Just to be practical and just to be more sort of practical and smart.
Thank you, Dianna. We got one very last question, as we can see from the text box from Vox. I guess she's asking questions about investor relations, and I wonder if Eddy or Dianna will be able to give a very, very short, a brief, concise answer on these questions about more or less the marketing or investor relations part, right? Dianna or Eddy? This is our last question to take before we summarize the two panel discussions.
Okay, so I believe the question is asking about how the investor evaluate the company and to decide whether they should or should not invest. So I just want to be very concise and precise here is that if your company created is fulfilling a significant or obvious gap which is in the society, then the investor would like to invest your idea. Then this will come to the second layer's questions, whether you have the capabilities, your company has the capability to do so, whether your business model is reasonable, whether the team is ready, and whether the technologies you are mentioning is already ready or this is still a dream. So you know that this is the idea come first, and then the capabilities come second. Once these two questions are fulfilling, then if the investor has money, I believe they will invest.
Right. Dianna.
Yeah, I think this is a very broad question, right? So I think you could think in this way. First of all, is the question, is the market, is the issue that you're trying to address potentially have very large commercial value? You don't want to, investor normally does not want to get into a very, very niche, small thing. Don't have too much upside and to think about. So the commercial value needs to be large. And secondly, you need to look at, okay, who are competing with you and how much differentiation you could create over your competitor. Why you are the right horse to bet versus many other horses are competing in the same race, right? And thirdly, I think the team also make a lot of sense because for a biotech startup, everybody knows that's very, very risky. Nobody can avoid some ups and downs. So the team needs to be credible in terms of track record, in terms of what you have been done before, and why investor who should trust this is the right team that I could trust even there's some risk going forward. I still think this team can overcome and move forward.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for both answers. And of course, thanks for sharing your stories with us. Let me summarize quickly what we learned from the two panel discussions over the two Saturdays. First, opportunity. Whether you want to pursue an academic career, to work in the industries, or to start your own business, you are advised not just to wait for opportunities, but identify or even create opportunities. That's the first thing from our panel discussion. Second point is knowing yourself. Understand your personality, build your own brand, believe in your judgment, be courageous, and more importantly, put your ideas into actions. And most importantly, of course, don't look at short-term job gain, but the longer-term career development. That's what we learned from Eddy and Dianna today. So thank you again for 60 of us participating in today's discussion, and very happy weekend. Thank you all.